But right now, let's not make him wait any longer. On the phones, legendary rocker, the vocalist for the band RF7. They began, I believe, in the late 70s, 1979. FELIX ALANIS from RF7. He's the singer. FELIX, how are you, brother?
Hey.
Hey, FELIX.
Hey, you guys. How's it going? By that intro, I was waiting to see who it was going to be. But,
was I right? 1979?
Yeah, 1979. That's right.
Wow.
That was just last week.
Seems like it.
Doesn't it?
I always ask, who else could drink legally in 1979? I'm typically the only one.
Right? Time's crazy, man. Flies so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great to see you in Los Angeles a few weeks ago, too, man.
Yeah, that's probably been the highlight of my last few weeks. So it was definitely a great time, and I really appreciate letting me be involved. I love the artwork, and what I've heard from the record is awesome as well.
Oh, thank you, bro. We just got everything finally thumbs up on the album and Divine Dirt record in production right now. Yay! And so when that comes out, we'll make sure to get you copies too, brother.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, and still the divine flower is still blossoming here at my house too. So I appreciate that.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, just a few weeks ago, my band was down in Los Angeles doing an album recording, and FELIX came into the studio and did some vocals on the album. And our bands played together. We did a show together at Cafe Nela with the Rick Agnew Band. It was a really fun show. All the bands were stellar and just had a good time, man. So if you were there,
Yeah, that was great. That was great too. We're trying to twist Rick's arm into another show here next month. So hopefully that'll come to pass as well.
And that was the first time I'd seen RF7 without our beloved Nick Lamagna, who passed away last year. But it was great to see you guys, even though it was a little bittersweet. But you guys are so great and so tight and polished. And it was just nice to see that you're carrying on. And Nick would want you to, of course.
That's part of it, right? I mean, I think he would be pretty pissed if we were to walk away just because he decided to walk away.
Yeah, I think so, man. He would want you guys to have your, keep the RF7 name going, and of course, always remembering him. But he was like people used to tell me, oh, Nick Lamagna, he was like the punk rock Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, he was a lot of things, but that's true. But the tribute you did a couple of weeks ago to Nick was awesome, and I really thank you for that. And got a lot of feedback from friends that thought that was very cool. So,
it was our honor, man. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, we all knew Nick was a partier, and he wasn't, exactly the poster boy for sobriety. Were you shocked when he died, though?
Well, of course. All I liked was just being pissed at him all the time and getting to yell at him every few weeks, and but never the expectation. I added Tony, the second guitar player, like 7-8 years ago or something again, just because I could see Nick was in and out. But that was just because I thought he was going to miss a show here and there,
Yeah. Wow. So I'm wondering how many I know you've been on a lot of compilations and stuff, but how many records or just releases did RF7 do over the years? Because I genuinely don't know that.
I genuinely don't know it exactly, but the one I gave you, the Day of the Crisis, I count as the 11th studio record.
Okay.
And it's plus or minus 2. Well, it can't be minus 2, but it could be up to 13. But
so a dozen, give or take. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
No, it's cool and it's good. And one of the last things Nick told me when we were recording the last one, and we were sitting outside in between the takes, and he goes, for the last 35 years, he goes, I've written the soundtrack to your life, because, he was a big fanatic about the words. So he would always read the albums each time we recorded. And, after we strung 11 or so together, you could just see this whole 35-year progression. You could tell, who I was with or not with, or what drugs I was taking or not taking. And it was just kind of an interesting statement for him to make, this kind of realization that, he just kind of put the music to my whole 35-year history.
What a trip, man.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Pretty profound.
Yeah, no, it's good. And, since I guess all we can do, not all we can do, but a percentage of what we do now is to look back. And so it's a nice little history to look back on. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Well said, man. Well said. Will the RF7 go on forever, or will you guys go the direction of the Gears where you say, we're going to wrap it up now, or do you think you guys will just keep rocking?
I would suspect that we won't have a definite stop point. I mean, the most fun we have is playing, so it's really hard to say, well, you're going to stop doing the thing that you enjoy the most. I don't know. I would just, for myself, I would say, do I really want to see some, 65-year-old guy out there? It just doesn't sound right, but it feels right, so we'll see. We'll see what happens.
To me, I'm in the same boat, being a fan and a singer as well, but I think it really depends on the passion of the person we're talking about. If someone's got real passion and they're still doing it at whatever age, I can accept it. But there's some people, not guys like me, I don't make any money off the music industry, but there's some folks that do it and they get older and it's just kind of like, wow, this is embarrassing. But then I see folks that are even older than that doing, like, say, punk rock, and you're like, wow, Charlie Harper or whatever from UK Subs, completely really into it, and it sells because it's legit,
Well, you brought up Axl, and I just still will be very surprised to not see Axl playing, and especially, going to Europe with Rick, when they come back from there, there's no way they're not going to do some shows
yeah.
with Rick to play that out.
Totally.
And I certainly hope so. I mean, Axl's the one that told me 4 or 5 years ago, we played a big, auditorium show with, 13 people there, and he goes, you know what? It's still the best thing I ever do.
Nice.
So, I don't, it's just hard to say. I don't know about recording another record or not, but playing shows, I think we want to keep doing.
That's a good answer. What do you do for a real job, quote unquote? Like, what do you do when you're not doing music? Do you have like a real job?
Well, I right now I feel as though I'm working 2 full-time jobs. So I do have a regular, day job, factory job, as I've called it, for 35 years.
Yeah.
And then I've started this kind of side business with this, cannabis industry stuff, and that's now taking up, 50% of my waking hours. So
because you run Smoke 7 Records, right?
Well, I certainly started Smoke 7 Records and ran it through the 80s. I've got my buddy Matt Hall at Peak and Bomb that kind of manages Smoke and Records, Smoke and whatever it's called, that record label for me now, which is why there's no new artist signed to it, because he wants to preserve the integrity of the history. So anyway, but
why do you?
So Smoke 7, I did Smoke 7, back in the early 80s.
And I was going to ask you something else. I noticed on Facebook that you go over to China a lot. I wanted to ask, why do you go to China? What's the connection with you and China?
Well, it's now absorbed both jobs that I do have a China-centric piece. I mean, the factory job that I work in sends me to China probably 6 times a year just to do factory stuff. And while I'm there, I meet lots of people, and I happen to met a factory owner that made these hydroponic tents, and sounded interesting. So I talked to some guys, and they thought it was cool and wanted to get involved in it. And so we launched this Hydro Grow tent business, and in February, and it's just been doing pretty well, and it looks like it's going to be pretty interesting.
Nice. That's good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a growing market.
Lucrative direction.
It's been a good excuse to grow pot and to constantly need to be reevaluating my skills in growing, and obviously I grew it in the backyard forever, but growing it inside the tent is a little bit different.
A little bit different, yeah.
So, I got to keep doing that all the time, and then I just have all these jars of pots. So
Hey, Felix, I have a question. I always ask it of everyone that we interview, just because I think it tells something. Well, sometimes it tells something about the person. Other times it just kind of goes nowhere. But if you hadn't went into music, and say you could go back to being the Felix that you were, at 16, 17, and you were going to go into a completely different field, what were you interested in, then? What would you have went into if it hadn't been music? Like an astronaut? Would you have been like, a veterinarian?
Yeah.
A Boy Scout?
I probably would have been what I ended up being, which is a guy who worked in a factory for 35 years and plays music on the side. But the skill sets that I was lucky to have is words, writing words, and so writing poetry, all that was really kind of what was in my blood.
So maybe a writer. So like a writer
What ended up happening in 1978 or 9 when Nick saw me writing songs and asked me what it was, and then he went and put some to music and came back and brought him to me and said let's sing it. It was at that time I realized that I could not sing, and so if not long after that, someone who was trying to manage us listened to me not be able to sing and showed us some punk rock records and said, you might want to think about this.
You can sing great.
You can sing.
What he did is he said that last song you played, he goes, just play that as fast as you humanly can. And that's what we did. And we played the song Scientific Race, which was on our first record. And it went from me trying to sing to just trying to keep up with the band and yelling. And, that
nice.
was it. And the thing is I owned a record store at that time. And the guy said, well, have you heard of Sex Pistols or Stranglers or Ramones, all these names? I said, no. And he went into my own record store because we rehearsed in the back. He went into my own record store and pulled out 5 punk albums and said, here, you have them in your store.
Wow, that's a trip.
Yeah, we were listening to Tom Petty's new record and the Breakfast in America Supertramp record. So punk to us was the stupid Pretenders thing that we just couldn't even fathom.
Interesting, brother.
But,
sometimes
so anyway,
it's
I don't know if that answers your question. I think that I would have just I'm just a California guy, and so I just kind of wandered through until whatever happened. My father noticed when I got out of high school that I wasn't enrolling into college, so he got me a job at Rocketdyne, where he worked. And so that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because he gave me at least a skill set to be able to take care of myself.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. And going back to the writing thing, I mean, it's not a far stretch from being, say a poet to a punk rock singer.
Yeah.
So many punk singers got started by having a notebook full of poetry, and somebody said, "Hey, man, I can put this to some music and join we'll be in a band."
Yeah, the thing that was cool about the punk rock part is because it kind of forced me to create this persona, because I was just writing hippie poetry songs, and in punk rock it had to be kill your mother, kill your father, and all that stuff. And so I was able to just kind of create this persona in my mind, and it was quite fun, because I think, well, Stephen King probably never actually killed people or whatever the things he did to write his books. So why can't I just have this this image,
imaginary killing?
yeah, and it's quite a good way to do it, and I can intertwine a little of my own reality into it, but in a kind of a different sort of way. So that was okay.
I get it, man. I totally do. And brother, we are really coming to the end of our slot as far as our time tonight. I want to tell you something though, man. I've been jamming on the new Day at the Crisis album by RF7. The production is stellar. What a great record this is, dude.
Earl Mankey, he just fits us beautifully. He's amazing. So
it is really, and I just looking at it and I was like, this is really a really awesome record to drive in my car, and I have it cranked up. I blew out my back speaker because of this album, dude. Tracy can testify to it. I really did. So I did something.
It's interesting because I've heard that 2 or 3 times in the last couple of weeks. So finally,
that's funny.
So yeah, I guess that's a good thing. But everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight. And Felix, how do we pronounce your last name correctly?
I say Alanis.
Alanis. Okay, that's what I thought.
Okay.
But I've just been doing it a couple different ways. I thought I had
Alanis,
better.
Alanis.
Yeah.
So now we know.
Now we know.
Now we know.
It's been a pleasure.
Right.
Thanks for taking the time to talk to the Church of Rock tonight, my brother.
Hey, I love it. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, RF7 is the band. FELIX ALANIS is the singer. And many more years to you, my brother. And thanks again for being here tonight.
And we're going to play a cut right now. We are going to spin what We Got Diseases.
I love this. It's track number 9 on the album. Yeah, We Got Diseases.
The band's favorite song to play these days.
What's this about, man?
Do we want to know?
This one, actually, I wrote in 1981, and then we just finally recorded it. So
Interesting.
We Got Diseases.
We'll
Here
go
at the
for
Church of Rock.
Yeah. Thanks, Felix. We appreciate you, man.
thank you.
Have a good night, brother. Keep in touch.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.